Hello, hello, Martin Steller here. Let's talk about the value of practice. Some of you know that I used to be a monk. I spent 12 years in a monastery. I'm not going to go into it now, but in case you're interested, it was kind of a mix between Sufism and Zen Buddhism, sort of ish. I wasn't a Sufi or a Buddhist, but more or less. In those 12 years, I had a lot of practice in a lot of things, but it was always practice for its own sake, practice without a specific goal or an achievement or an accomplishment. And that just doing something for its own sake, just because it is a practice, gives you so much strength. And I'm going to show you an example of how all that practice can translate into things. Right? So all my life I thought drawing, painting, anything visual arts, that's just not me. I can sing, I can write, maybe I can do a poem because I did that 20 years ago, but anything visual, I just don't have it. Last year I started drawing illustrations. It was a lot of fun, and I did it just for the fun, not for any special effect. And a few weeks ago I started practicing actual fine art kind of thing. I made myself an art student. And I started practicing with charcoal because it's a nice medium to get started with. And suddenly, excuse me, I copied an artist's drawing every day because it's a good practice to discover yourself, or so Picasso said. So my coach gave me the suggestion, copy someone every day. And I did. And here's a guy who'd only ever done very, very sloppy, if you will, illustrations on an iPad, started practicing drawing once a day. And on day 18, I said, okay, let me try and see if I can draw an eye. Now, I've never drawn an eye before in my life, right? This is my first attempt. And I'm not going to sell this or publish it because I can recognize that there's beginner's mistakes in it. This is clearly a student's work. But to go from no drawing skills to being able to do something like this is very surprising. Am I some sort of, genius? No, I'm not. I've put in thousands and thousands of hours of practice into observing, into learning how to put one stitch right next to the other back when I was a tailor and make buttonholes by hand that look just like they were made by a machine. I've put thousands of hours into writing things, into expressing a thought or a concept into just a few words or a few sentences. And so all that practice across all kinds of different channels apparently can be translated into something completely new. Right? Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers said that to get mastery at something, you need 10,000 hours of practice. Yeah, but apparently you don't necessarily need the practice in the exact same area that you're working on now. You can use practice from other areas and transpose that. Apparently, it looks like an eye. Where did it come from? From practice. So, here's the question. What have you practiced on a lot in your life? Where have you had your 10,000 hours? And if you're not using the accumulated skill and prowess you have in that, how can you take that practice that's behind you and apply it in your current life, in your business or in your practice, your art practice? How can you apply the thousands of hours you've spent being very good at something, becoming good at something, and use that ability in a different way? How can you creatively transpose one practice result into a new application?